from application to clear to close, there are a lot of steps that go on behind the scenes to ensure a loan goes smoothly. I'm here with Gary Pierce and Willis Richardson of Purefunding, and we're going to dig into a clean mortgage file and process, and we're going to get started right now. How you doing, guys?
Documents, asset documents that we need up front to kind of know what we're doing when we're doing these loans. So, yeah,
I'd say probably the awkward discussion you have, especially with buyers, is, well, I know this number and it's right, so why can't you guys just use that, right? And it's not that simple. But yeah, a lot of people expect to share information and say, well, you got to believe me. And it's like, no, we need a little bit more proof than that. So proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the documents that they apply, they bring. So I would say yes, having all your documents in the system at the time of application so that we can get a true read on really the scenario and what we need, what we need to talk through, right? If there's outstanding debt that we need to deal with, what have you. It's like, we're on your side here. We want to get through all the tough conversations early on. So sharing is the old saying, sharing is caring. Share with us the documents and we'll help care about the process. Fair statement?
Yeah, fair statement.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, trust and verify. So I guess next, like the document collection process, I think people still think that, hey, I got to get all this and email it over. I mean, our system's pretty cool in that you're logging into a very secure system to upload your documents. So the same system that you'd fill out your application is the same system you're going to upload all your documents. So it's very easy to do. I would say the other thing that tends to happen is we get the cover page of the bank statement or financial statement, and that's it. We need the entire thing. 28 pages, need all 28. Any other kind of gotchas that we run into consistently?
I would say on the application, you'll see employment. Maybe somebody works for a family member. And they don't disclose that can trigger some things in the process. If we uncover that they are employed by a family member, a lot of times that happens. Folks are just kind of going through the application. They don't realize that. So we'll need 2 years of tax returns. Whereas if they were just a W-2 employee of a, company XYZ that was not, family owned, then we would not need 2 years tax returns. But that is we've seen that a handful of times here recently.
Yeah.
And then the next kind of area where there can be some awkward discussions is when we run credit, right? And we import liabilities, and there's liabilities out there that just weren't talked about in the initial conversation. Happens all the time. I forgot I had that. I forgot I had that. Talk about the importance of ensuring that we have a good read on liabilities when we're getting through this process and building the file.
Yeah, I mean, you can go, Gary. Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you do want to know where a lot of it is, but what's interesting about our application is it doesn't ask for liabilities up front because we know that the credit report is going to pull that in. Now, where that can happen is if somebody's like, I don't want my credit pulled right now. Okay, that's fine. You have to tell me everything that you have a debt on, and if you miss something, we can't issue a pre-approval based on that. We have to have a credit report. 2, it could be off on what you truly are pre-approved, so we really want to push for doing a credit report. We can do a soft credit report now, so it's not hitting your credit, it's not alerting you, and you're getting all these trigger leads and phone calls. So those are 2 great benefits of that new program where we can do a soft credit pull to do a pre-approval, or even if you're doing a refinance on a lot of our products, we can do that. So there is that benefit to getting the credit pulled and understanding hard numbers of everything that is going on with your loan file. And, like you said, sometimes things always pop up. There's definitely sometimes where a debt doesn't pop up on the credit report and you know about it, you let us know, and we just add that in there so that everything is great. Because these lenders they have some great technology out there where if you're paying somebody every single month for something, they know about it. They have AI helping them. They have, there are all these fraud protections to protect them from putting you in a bad situation. And so that technology is going to show us the things that might not show up on the credit report and might not show up on the application. So if you know about that stuff, you need to let us know so that, like you said, we don't have a gotcha moment in there.
Yeah, good point. And I think that leads to the next area is like, all right, we've got the application in, we've got the documents, we have a decent read on where things stand. Now we're bringing a processor into the equation. How important and how do we ensure that there's that communication sync throughout the process to ensure a smooth file? Because the more people you add, game of telephone, something's going to fall through. How do we best deal with that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is setting up the initial conversation. So the way I do it here with Natalie is the first time I talk to a client, I introduce her to the conversation so that they understand there's going to be more than one person helping them through this process. And so I try to talk about her as our loan partner on the deal. Her main objective is, number one, to make sure we get all the documents in, all the correct documents, and then we get all the correct documents submitted to the file, and basically so that the conditions are all cleared without any back and forth. Like the idea is to have one or two touches on a file with the underwriter. We don't want a lot of back and forth. You don't want to piecemeal stuff in. It's better to get it all at once and then assign the documents to the conditions. That way, there's not a lot of back and forth. It just makes it a lot harder on the underwriter. It makes it harder on the client. And so we try to make sure, and Natalie does a great job of making sure, she does a good job of understanding the requirements of the conditions. And so we're not asking for more than what we need.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a balance between being efficient, ultra efficient, and like, here's another thing I got to get, let me go get it, and delivering that personal quality customer service, right?
Sure.
If there's one way to upset a customer, it's to ping them, 5 different times for a document that we could have gotten one fell swoop. So I think that's a good point. Natalie's very good at staying organized and making requests that address more than one issue if there are outstanding issues.
100%.
And I think that what people need to understand is there's tools and technology behind the scenes that help with all this, right? As we communicate with the underwriter, as processes involved, everybody's got eyes on the file, so it's not. Yeah. It's not like the old days where it was a very a paper-intensive process. It's very digital, and has a lot of protections in place to ensure that we're keeping in line. Yes, there is kind of a checklist of everything we need to go through.
Sure.
I think that's one of the questions I get is like, do you guys use a checklist, or is this 100% off what the underwriter comes back to you with? It's like it's a little of both. Sometimes the documentation that the borrower provides, there are some clarifying questions that the underwriter will have. Not a big deal. It happens. What else behind the scenes, managing expectations with realtors, clients, and any other stakeholders in the process, how do we address that from a communication? We talk a lot about that's our differentiator, and that how we're keeping everybody as part of the team that's going to work on the loan. Why is that so important?
Well, because you can't fix a problem that you didn't know existed. And the more people that you have that know about it and know where we are in the process, one, if everything's running smooth, which 95% of our loans are running smooth, so if everything's running smooth, you're just calling and letting everyone know, hey, we're still on track to close for X day, and everything's going through. We're just waiting on the appraisal, or hey, the appraisal came back, it met value, now we're just waiting on title. Whatever it is, that just gives people peace of mind. It gives everyone in the process, peace of mind. The buying agent, the listing agent, and most importantly, the borrower, right? But then, sometimes you're sitting there pulling your hair out over an issue that you found that the underwriter brought up. And if you let the listing agent, if it's about the property, know about it, they might have the answer or have the documentation that you need right away. The same can be said for the buying agent as well. They have connections to people that might make it easier to get those problems solved. And definitely what we move towards more is trying to fix it ourselves, and we don't want to bother someone if we can get that stuff ourselves. But at some point, letting them know where we are in the process, even if it's not the best call at the moment, still sometimes brings the answer that we needed all along to get the file across the finish line. So the more communication, it's the same with every industry. The more communication you have, the smoother the transaction is, the more people are understanding, the more people are going to extend grace if something needs to be extended at the end or something along those lines. It just really is a best practice that we try to uphold on all of our deals. So
yeah, I'd say if there's a moment where I feel in the process that maybe I feel like we haven't been proactive, if I'm getting a status update question from anybody in the process, listing agent, buying agent, our processing team, if it's a status update question, I'm not communicating enough. Right. If they're having to think about it like, hey, I wonder where, we don't want the wonder where the deal is questions coming. It means we're not being proactive enough. So, we try and at least once a week, assuming a smooth file, at least once a week, reach out to everybody involved. Here's what's going on. We do not want to be a hindrance to anything else within the process moving forward. Sometimes there are tougher conversations to have, but even if it's just this is where we're at, we're still on track. Expectation next step is this. Once we have that, you'll be notified. We'll keep you updated. And I think that just goes a long way. I know it does, because I know it's a differentiator, because after the deal is closed, you typically hear from the realtors like, hey, just thank you for the proactive. I was never in a situation where the home buyer or seller had questions that I didn't have the answer to. So you guys being proactive solved a lot of pain points. For me, I'm not having to say, hey, I'll call you back. Let me call the lender and see what's going on. We're ahead of it. So we try and be very deliberate about that on a regular basis. So we're keeping everybody in the loop and moving things forward.
Agreed.
What else? Anything else we want to touch on here that can derail a file? I mean, obviously on the credit side, we've talked about this in other videos. Like, we either do a soft pull or a hard credit pull, and everybody's like, oh, well, they got what they need. Let me go buy that car. Obviously practicing healthy credit activities during the process is very important. You don't want to have that jump up at the 11th hour and find out that you've taken on a new Mercedes payment, and that throws everything out of whack. So behave yourself out there is basically the message.
Just keep your checkbook in your pocket for about 30 days.
For you guys, it's more like, don't go out and buy another horse.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
I was
going to say anyways. Truck.
That's a bad idea anyway.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I would say
don't take the shop.
Don't change your job in the middle of a process.
Yeah, good point.
That's even a harder one than a credit card, getting a new credit card payment. Changing your job in the middle of the process, or quitting your job in the middle of the process. One of the last things that they do, and people don't realize this, one of the last things that they do is they have to get a verbal verification of your employment, and they will call your employer and make sure you are still employed within, I think it's like 4 days before closing. So
gainfully employed.
Gainfully employed.
You can't
not on the way out.
Yeah, you can't have been issued a severance package and exiting, and it needs to be gainfully employed.
Mhm.
taking the
difference.
call from the beach in Cabo, like,
Yeah.
yeah, they probably will say I'm employed. No, yeah, consistency is key. Let's keep it consistent. It's not it's not a big window that we're doing all this and trying to get this dialed. So, anything we can do to reduce curveballs is well worth it, and we'll make sure we have a smooth process. Well, all right, guys, I think this is helpful. We talk a lot about rates and products and what have you, but I do think, ideas are free, execution's everything, and executing on a loan file is key. And the smoother we can make it for everybody, the happier all parties are. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. And a reminder to give us a like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be doing some more live stuff here as we try and figure out the technology and everything we need to do. But we'll do more live. We had a good feedback there. But until next time, gang, we will see you back here on Pure Perspectives in the next video. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.